Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Yananyana Shilakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha. Shila Gurudev ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur, Sanat Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 35. That Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, appeared on this planet by his eternal internal potency and enjoys himself amongst competent women as if he were engaging in mundane affairs. Srila Prabhupada's purport: the Lord married and lived like a householder. This is certainly like a mundane affair, but when we learn that he married 16,108 wives and lived with them separately in each and every palace, certainly it is not mundane. Therefore, the Lord living as a householder against his competent wives is never mundane. His behavior with them is never to be understood as mundane sex relation. The women who became the wives of the Lord are certainly not ordinary women, because to get the Lord as one's husband, one is the result of many, many millions of births, tapasya, austerity. When the Lord appears on different lokas or planets, and on this planet of human beings, he displays his transcendental pastimes just to attract the conditioned souls to become his eternal servitors, friends, parents, and lovers, respectively, in the transcendental world, where the Lord eternally reciprocates such exchanges of service. Service is pervertly represented in the material world and broken untimely, resulting in sad experience. The illusioned living being, conditioned by material nature, cannot understand out of ignorance that all our relations here is the mundane world are temporary and full of inabilities. Such relations cannot help us be happy perpetually, but if the same relation is established with the Lord, then we are transferred to the transcendental world after leaving this material body again and become eternally related with Him in the relation we desire. The women amongst whom he lived as their husband are not therefore women of this mundane world, but are eternally related with him as transcendental wives, a position which they attained by perfection of devotional service. That is their competency. The Lord is Param Brahma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Conditioned souls seek after perpetual happiness in all places, not on this earth, but also other planets throughout the universe, because constitutionally a spiritual spark as he is can travel to any part of God's creation. But being conditioned by the material modes, he tries to travel in space by spacecraft and so fails to reach his destination. The law of gravitation is binding upon him like the shackles of a prisoner. By other processes, he can reach anywhere, but even if he reaches the highest planet, he cannot attain the perpetual happiness for which he is searching life after life. When it comes to his senses, however, he seeks after Brahman happiness, knowing it for certain that unlimited happiness which he is seeking is never attainable in this material world. As such, the Supreme Being Param Brahma certainly does not seek his happiness anywhere in the material world, nor can his paraphernalia of happiness be found in the material world. He is not impersonal because he is the leader and supreme being amongst innumerable living beings. He cannot be impersonal. He is exactly like us, and he has all the propensities of an individual being, living being in fullness. He marries exactly like us, but his marriage is neither mundane nor limited by our experience in the conditioned state. His wife therefore appears like mundane women, but factually they are all transcendental liberated souls, perfect manifestation of internal energy. Text 36. Although the queen's beautiful smiles and furtive glances were all spotless and exciting, and although they could conquer Cupid himself by making him give up his vow in frustration, and although even the tall Lord Shiva could fall victim to them. Still, despite all their magical feat and attraction, they could not agitate the senses of the Lord. The path of salvation or the path of going back to Godhead, always forbids the association of women. And the complete Sanatan Dharma or Varnashram Dharma scheme forbids or restricts association with women. How then can one be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is addicted to more than 16,000 wives? The question may be relevantly raised by inquisitive persons really anxious to know about the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. And to answer such questions, the sages in Naimisharanya have discussed the transcendental character of the Lord in in this and in following verses. It is clear herein that the feminine attractive features which can conquer Cupid or even the supreme supermost tolerant Lord Shiva could not conquer the senses of the Lord. Cupid's business is to invoke mundane lust. The whole universe is moving, being agitated by Cupid's arrow. The activities of the world are being carried on by the central attraction of male and female. A male is searching after a mate to his liking, and a female is looking after a suitable mate. This is the way of material stimulus. And as soon as a male is combined with female, the material bondage of the living being is once tightly interlocked by sex relation. And as a result of this, both the males and females' attraction for sweet home, motherland, bodily offspring, society and friendship, and accumulation of wealth becomes the illusory field of activities, and thus a false but indefatigable attraction for the temporary material existence, which is full of miseries, is manifest. Now I want to see this word. Indefatigable. Krishna. Never giving up or getting tired of doing something. Okay. So, and thus false but never giving up or getting tired attraction for temporary material existence, which is full of miseries, is manifest. Oh, Krishna. Those who are therefore on the path of salvation for going back home to Godhead are specially advised by spiritual injections to become free from such paraphernalia of material attraction. And that is possible only by the association of devotees of the Lord who are called the Mahatmas. Cupid throws his arrow upon the living beings to make them mad after the opposite sex, whether the party is actually beautiful or not. Cupid's provocations are going on, even amongst beastly societies who are all ugly looking. In the estimation of the civilized nation, the Cupid influence is exerted even amongst the ugliest forms. And what to speak of the most perfect beauties? Lord Shiva, who is considered the most tolerant, was also struck by Cupid's arrow because he also became mad after the Mohini incarnation of the Lord and acknowledged himself to be defeated. Cupid, however, was himself captivated by the grave of exciting dealings of the goddess of fortune, and he voluntarily gave up his bow and arrow in spirit of frustration. Such was the beauty of attraction of the queens of Lord Krishna. Yet they could not disturb the transcendental senses of the Lord. This is because the Lord is all perfect Atmarama or self sufficient. He does not require anyone's extraneous help for his personal satisfaction. Therefore, the queens could not satisfy the Lord by their feminine attractiveness, but they satisfied him by their sincere affection and service. Only by unalloyed transcendental loving service they could satisfy the Lord, and the Lord was pleased to treat them as wives in reciprocation. Thus, satisfied by their unalloyed service, only the Lord reciprocated the service just like a devout husband. Otherwise, he had no business becoming the husband of so many wives. He is the husband of everyone, but to one who accepts him as such, he reciprocates. This unalloyed affection for the Lord is never to be compared to mundane lust. It is purely transcendental, and the grave dealings which the queens displayed in the natural feminine ways were also transcendental because the feelings were expressed out of transcendental ecstasy. It is already explained in the previous verse the Lord appeared like a mundane husband, but factually his relationship with the wives was transcendental, pure, and unconditioned by the modes of material nature. Text 37. The common materialistic conditioned souls speculate that the Lord is one of them. Out of their ignorance, they think that the Lord is affected by matter, although he is unattached. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The word Abu Dahaha is significant here. Due to ignorance only, the foolish mundane wranglers misunderstood the Supreme Lord and spread their foolish imaginations amongst innocent persons by propaganda. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the original primeval Lord, personality of Godhead, and when he was personally present before the eyes of everyone, he displays a full-fledged divine potency in the every field of activities. As we have already explained in the first verse of Srimad Bhavatam, he is completely independent to act however he likes. But all his actions are full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. Only the foolish mundaners misunderstand him, unaware of his eternal form of knowledge and bliss, which is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. His different potencies work in a perfect plan of natural sequence and doing everything by the agency of the different potencies. He remains eternally the supreme independent when he descends to the material world by his causeless mercy to different living beings. He does so by his own potency. He is not subject to any condition of the material modes of nature, and he descends as he is originally. The mental speculators misunderstand him as supreme person and they consider his impersonal features as inexplicable Brahman to be all. Such a conception such a conception is also the product of conditioned life because they cannot be beyond their own personal capacity. Therefore, one who considers the Lord on the level of one's limited potency is only a common man. Such a man cannot be convinced that the personality of Godhead is always unaffected by the modes of material nature. He cannot understand that the sun is always unaffected by the infectious matter. The mental speculators compared everything from the standpoint of experimental knowledge of their own selves. Thus, when the Lord is found to act like an ordinary person in matrimonial bondage, they consider him to be like one of them, without considering that the Lord can at once marry 16,000 wives or more. Due to the pure fund of knowledge, they accept one side of the picture while disbelieving the other. This means that due to ignorance only, they always think that Lord Krishna as like themselves and make their own conclusion, which are absurd and unauthentic from the version of Srimad Bhagavatam, text 38. This is the divinity of Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not affected by the qualities of material nature, even though he is in contact with them. Similarly, the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord do not become influenced by the material qualities. In the Vedas and Vedic literature, Shruti and Smriti, it is affirmed that in the divinity there is nothing material. He is transcendental, nirguna, the supreme cognizant. Hari, or personality of Godhead, is the supreme transcendental person situated beyond the range of material affection. These statements are also confirmed even by Acharya Shankara. One may one may argue that his relation with the goodness of goddesses of fortune may be transcendental, but what okay, I didn't understand. One may argue that his relation with the orders of fortune may be transcendental, but what about his relations with the Hindu dynasty being born in that family, or his killing of the non-believers like Jarasandha and the other astros directly in contact with the modes of material nature? The answer is that the divinity of personality of Godhead is never in contact with the qualities of material nature in any circumstances. Actually, he is in contact with such qualities because he is the ultimate source of everything. Yet he is above the actions of such qualities. He is known therefore as Yogeshwara, or the master of mystic power, or in other words, or the all powerful. Even his learned devotees are not affected by the influence of material mood. Thus, the great six Goswamis of Vrindavan all came from greatly rich and aristocratic families. But when they adopted the life of mendicant at Vrindavan, superficially they appeared to be in wretched conditions of life, but factually they were the richest of all in spiritual values. Such Mahabhagavatas of first great devotees, although moving amongst men, are not contaminated by honor or insult, hunger or satisfaction, sleep or wakefulness, which are all resultant actions of the three modes of material nature. Similarly, some of them are engaged in worldly dealings yet are unaffected. Unless these neutralities of life are there, one cannot be considered situated in transcendence. The divinity of his association are on the same transcendental plane, and their glories are always sanctified by the actions of Yoga Maya or the internal potency of the Lord. Second. Unless these neutralities of life are there, one cannot be considered situated in transcendence. The divinity and his associates are on the same transcendental plane, and their glories are always sanctified by the actions of Yogmaya or the internal potency of the Lord. Okay. The devotees of the Lord are always transcendental, even if they sometimes found to be fallen in their behavior. The Lord emphatically declares in the Bhagavad Gita 9.30 that oh apichet sudurachara ananyana, that even if an unalloyed devotee is found to be fallen due to previous material contamination, he is nevertheless to be accepted as fully transcendental because of his being engaged 100% in the devotional service of the Lord. The Lord protects the Lord protects him always because of his rendered service to him. And the fallen conditions are always considered accidental and temporary. They will vanish in no time. Text 39. The simple and delicate woman truly thought that Lord Krishna, their beloved husband, followed them and was dominated by them. They were unaware of the extent of of the glories of their husband. As the atheists are unaware of him as the supreme controller, Srila Prabhupada's purport. Even the transcendental wives of the Lord Shri Krishna did not know completely the unfathomable glories of the Lord. The ignorance is not mundane because there is some action of the internal potency of the Lord in the exchange of feeling. The ignorance is not mundane because there is some action of the internal potency of the Lord in exchange of feelings between him and his eternal associate. The Lord exchanges transcendental relations in five ways as proprietor, master, friend, son, lover, and each of these pastimes he plays fully by the potency of Yoga Maya, the internal potency of the Lord Krishna. He plays exactly like an equal friend with the cowherd boys or even with friends like Arjuna. He plays exactly like a son in the presence of Mother Yashoda, Mata. He plays exactly like a lover in the presence of the cowherd damsels. He plays exactly like a husband in the presence of queens of Dwarka. Such devotees of the Lord never think themselves as the supreme, but they think him exactly as a common friend, a pet. Sorry, Hare Krishna. Such devotees of the Lord never think of the Lord as supreme, but think of him exactly as a common friend, a pet son, or a lover or husband, very much dear to heart and soul. That's the relation between the Lord and his transcendental devotees, who act as his associates in the spiritual sky, where there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets. When the Lord descends, he does so along with his entourage to display his complete picture of the transcendental world, where pure love and devotion for the Lord prevail without any mundane tinge of lording it over the creation of the Lord. Such devotees of the Lord are all liberated souls, perfect representations of the marginal or eternal potency in complete negation of the influence of external potency. Such devotees of the Lord are liberated souls, perfect representations of the marginal or internal potency in complete negation of the influence of external potency. Okay, Jai. So Spiritual masters are like that. The wives of the Lord Shri Krishna were made to forget the immeasurable glories of the Lord by the internal potency so that there might not be any flaw of exchange, and they took it for granted that the Lord was a henpecked husband, always following them in lonely places. In other words, even the personal associates of the Lord do not know him perfectly well. So, what do the thesis writers or mental speculators know about the transcendental glories of the Lord? The mental speculators present different thesis as to his becoming the cause of the creation, the ingredients of the creation, or the material and efficient causes of the creations, etc. But all this is but partial knowledge about the Lord. Factually, they are as ignorant as the common man. The Lord can be known by the mercy of the Lord only and by no other means. But since the dealings of Lord and his wives are based pure on transcendental love and devotion, the wives are on the transcendental plane without material contamination. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the first canto, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhavatam, entitled Lord Krishna Enters into Dwarka. Tomorrow we'll be reading, now, birth of Emperor Parikshit. Okay, maybe we can do a couple verses. Um, Text 1, chapter 12. The sage Shaunaka said, the womb of Uttara, mother of Parikshit, was spoiled by the dreadful and invincible weapon released by Ashwatthama, but Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada. The sages assembled in the forest of Naimisharanya inquire the sages assembled in the forest of Naimisharanya inquired from the Sutta Goswami about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit. But in the course of the narration, other topics like the release of the Brahmastra by the son of Drona, his punishment by Arjuna, Queen Kunti's prayers, and the Pandavas' visit to the birth to the place where Bhishma Dev was lying, his prayers, and after the Lord's departure for Dwarka were discussed. His arrival at Dwarka and residing with 16,000 queens, etc. were narrated. The sages were absorbed in hearing such description, but now they want to turn to the original topic, and thus the inquiry was made by Shanaka Rishi. So the subject of the release, so the subject of the release of the Brahmastra weapon by Ashwatthama is renewed. Okay, actually we can continue tomorrow, but I want to see there is one verse. Pahi Pahi Mahayogi. Um, Oh, that actually comes in 8th chapter only. Pahi pahi mahayogi deva deva jagatpate nayanam tvad abhayam pasye yatra mrityu parasparam. O Lord of the Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of the death in this world of duality. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय जय श्री गुरुदेव जय श्री